the pandemic was declared over, but look, every single day, whether you do what I do or do what you do, we still talk about this every single day. The effects of the pandemic, whether it was locking school kids up, vaccine injuries, the fact that the vaccines didn't work, the damage done to businesses. We talk about this every day to this day. And joining me now is Peter McCullough. He is the Chief Scientific Officer with the Wellness Company, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Doctor, good to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
As we talk about the pandemic, and we look at it now, the aftermath, if you will, there are some questions that are just so pressing to me I have to ask. Here's number one. Was there ever any evidence that these mRNA injections would have any impact on slowing or stopping the spread? Was there ever any evidence at all that justified we went down that road?
We were deceived from the initial trials, which took a lot of shortcuts in how they were designed, executed, and brought forward. So the very first trials showed a reduction in COVID-19, but no reduction in hospitalization and death. They never prevented severe illness, and they never prevented transmission. Then after that, Steve, quickly, the vaccine companies stopped doing human trials. You know, the last few boosters were just approved based on animal studies, so we have no idea what they do.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that has occurred to me recently, because there's this phenomenon going on, it seems to me, with my kids that didn't exist when I was growing up. Why are there vaccinations for basically everything these days? I mean, it used to be 4 or 5. You'd fill out your little passbook deal when I was a kid. You'd have 4 or 5 inoculations. Now the government and Big Pharma seem to be pushing vaccines for everything. Is that healthcare, or is that Big Pharma and the politicians cashing in on the rest of us? Because I'm pretty skeptical.
Think if you were a company and you had a product that was mandated that every single human being had to take, how big that market would be. And that's what we've seen with this biopharmaceutical complex, or this vaccine syndicate. They're running the table now. A lot of people don't know that even the flu shot is recommended. In fact, it becomes mandated for children down to age 6 months. Kids don't even get significant influenza. I've personally never been tested for it. A lot of people don't know every adult over 60, including myself, Steve, is supposed to take the respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. I've never had it, never tested for it. It's never been an issue. What we've seen is a complete overplay of mass vaccination, and people are pushing back now. Vaccines probably should transition to what's called risk stratification, is selected vaccines for people who really need them.
I'm a bit jaded here, doctor, but it smells like it's for profit, all for profit, to mandate all of these things. My 12-year-old son, they're trying to push the HPV virus, virus vaccine. I'm like, no. I said no. So but let me ask you this. America is about the sickest nation on earth. Obesity, hypertension, diabetes, heart disease. Hell, it seems everyone over 40 is taking a handful of pills every day. How can that be healthy? Here's Big Pharma pushing all these pills every day to as many people as possible. How can that possibly be healthy?
You know, it can't be. It's a reflection of chronic illness, I think much of which is driven by obesity, inactivity, poor diet. But people have asked the question, could all these childhood vaccines play a role? And they probably do, Steve, with food allergies, peanut allergies, asthma, allergic dermatitis, chronic childhood illness, neuropsychiatric disorders now linked to excessive mass vaccination, sudden infant death syndrome. We have enough warning signals to suggest that we probably should pull back on this vaccine schedule, not keep adding to it.
Yeah, which brings me to this question. Is the CDC, for allowing all this to happen, criminally liable for the failure of American healthcare across the board? We are the sickest nation on earth for all those things I said, obesity and diabetes and all these chronic illnesses and allergies, like you say, they're exploding. The CDC is supposed to protect us. What a failure, monumental failure that has turned out to be.
The CDC certainly is not investigating these chronic disease epidemics. We have seen no credible advancements in understanding autism and its potential link to mass vaccination. The same thing for sudden infant death syndrome or food allergies. So we have a situation where the CDC for COVID-19 vaccination, in my view, is liable for what's occurred, which is fraud and then mass negligent homicide for people who've died of the vaccines. And people will say, well, they have to have malicious intent. There's probably enough out there whether it's malicious intent through CDC officers wanting to advance themselves or for the next job in big pharma. But this biopharmaceutical complex is running the table, and the victims are Americans.
Well, people worldwide, actually. And you make a great point there. They go from working at Big Pharma to working at the CDC or back and forth. They run around. And if that's not bad enough, the World Health Organization now wants this global treaty to be in charge of healthcare so they can dictate and demand that we take whatever shots. It's reprehensible, and it's a threat to this country, isn't it?
Agreed, and it's not just humans. The WHO wants dominion over all plants, animals, and humans, and a big part of this is repeated mass vaccination over and over again.
Yeah. So one way to protect ourselves, you work for the wellness company. The wellness company puts together these great kits for emergency preparedness. The kits have ivermectin, they have antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics. If you don't trust the folks out there, and gosh, at this point, why would you? Because the health professionals, at least from Big Pharma, seem to have lost our trust, and reasonably so. But from the wellness company, you get some pretty good measures to protect yourself against what you don't know might happen next, right?
It's true. The wellness company has its own, pharmaceutical supply line. The emergency kits are wonderful to have 4 different kits depending on what each individual purpose would be or people's preferences. Very importantly, nutraceuticals, supplements, and an approach from the doctors, Steve, that isn't all big pharma. Sure, I think we should take more natural solutions, and then when those don't work, then we can bump up to pharmaceuticals. But it's not just pill after pill.
Right. Always be prepared. TWC.health/Gruber. TWC.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You can save 10% on one of these kits right now. Take your own well-being into your own hands. Dr. McCullough, I always appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show.